The Champions League round of 16 is officially over, and oh my gosh, these round of 16 fixtures were absolutely crazy. The pure amount of goals we saw in these round of 16 fixtures was maybe the most goals we've ever seen in Champions League history in the round of 16. Every single tie had 5, 6, 7, 10 goals. It was crazy. If we look at all these ties right now, PSG versus Chelsea, we saw 10 goals. Galatasaray versus Liverpool, another 5. That's 15. 6 in Real Madrid versus Man City, that's 21. 12 in Atlanta versus Bayern Munich, that's 21 plus 33. 11 in Newcastle versus Barcelona, that's 44. 12 in Atletico Madrid against Tottenham, that's 56. 8 in Bodo Glimt versus Sporting, that's 64. And another 4 in Arsenal versus Bayer Leverkusen. We saw 68 goals, if I'm not stupid, in the round of 16. That's unheard of. Like, that's just crazy. And I need to talk about these games. I need to talk about these fixtures because the amount of upsets we saw, the amount of Premier League teams we saw get knocked out was crazy. But we got to start off from the first game that took place yesterday, and that was Sporting against Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt won 3-0 in the first leg. They were the fairy tale team in this Champions League. No one expected them to get this far. Obviously, in recent years, in the Conference League, in the Europa League, we've seen them perform very well. And we've seen them upset teams that we thought would knock them out. But they have been overperforming for recent years. And once again, in this Champions League, we saw them draw against Borussia Dortmund. We saw them beat Man City. We saw them beat Atletico Madrid. We saw them beat Inter across 2 legs. And then we saw them beat Sporting 3-0 in the first leg. And everyone thought Bodo Glimt is 100% going through. But in this game, Sporting destroyed Bodo Glimt. I don't know what happened to them over the last week. This performance from Bodo Glimt was their worst performance in the Champions League. Sporting could have scored 10 goals in this game. In the first 5 minutes, Sporting realistically could have scored 3 goals. In the first 5 minutes. Look at the stats of this game. Sporting had almost 40 shots. 14 shots on goal. 9 big chances. 5 big chances missed. Like, bro, the amount of chances I saw Jenny Katamo or whatever his name is just blast over the bar is crazy. Like, realistically, Sporting should have won 10-0 in this game. Luis Suarez could have got 3 goals. Trincao could have got 3 goals. Like I said, Katamo could have got probably 4 or 5 goals. If his crosses were accurate, Sporting would have won 15-0. This was a very, very poor performance by Bodo Glimt. And it's sad because I thought they would make an unexpected quarterfinal appearance, especially after beating Sporting 3-0 in the first leg. But they ended up really underperforming in this game. And it does show you that as a team, they don't have the best players, and they do heavily rely on individual talents. Players like Haug, their striker, I think his name is Hug. They do rely on individual talent. And Heiken, yes, he's been decent for them, and even in this game, he made some good saves, but he couldn't save them in this game. He really could not save them. Sporting end up advancing, and they will be facing Arsenal, who ended up beating Bayer Leverkusen 2-0. And this was a classic performance by Arsenal. This was a solid, comfortable 2-0 win. This is like the most, like when you think of a 2-0 win, you think of this. Very, very comfortable. Bayer Leverkusen, yes, they played decently in this game, right? As you can see from the stats, they had a decent amount of possession. It wasn't totally one-sided, but in the attack, Bayer Leverkusen struggled. And that's where Arsenal were very good. Players like Gyökeres was fantastic in this game. Probably could have scored. Eze, the goal he scored, that volley was absolutely crazy. Just one touch, did a little spin, volleyed it right to the top corner. That was a fantastic, fantastic goal. And there is definitely a conversation to be had on whether Eze needs to be starting for Arsenal week in, week out, because some of the games he plays, he's incredible. And obviously Kai Havertz did good in this game. Obviously Declan Rice scored the second goal, and another classic goal by Declan Rice. A very good goal, a nice long shot. And he needed that goal because it's been a little while since he scored his last goal. And finally, another goal came, and it looks like he will start scoring from now on. But Arsenal, once again, they look dangerous. They look really, really dangerous heading into the quarterfinal. And in my opinion, I would say they are the favorites to beat Sporting. But if we look at another game yesterday, PSG 3-0 Chelsea. And this, in my opinion, this tie was probably on par with Bayern Munich against Atalanta as the most embarrassing tie, because Chelsea got destroyed in Paris 5-2, completely capitulated in the second half of that game in the last 20 minutes. For the first half, they're doing pretty good, but in the second half, complete capitulation. And now at home, they lose 3-0. 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. We heard so many people talking about how Chelsea may be able to come back. And even if they don't come back, they should still beat PSG in the home fixture. I didn't think so. I personally thought PSG would win. But even me, I didn't think they would win 3-0. Like, Chelsea just really lack that experience, especially in the back line. You know, players like Sarr, obviously he made a mistake for one of the goals. Chalobah didn't have their best game. Hato didn't have the best game. Sanchez didn't make the best saves. And obviously in the first leg, we saw their backup goalie completely get destroyed, making mistake after mistake. And he was at fault for a lot of the goals. But it's just inexperience. It's so clear as day that Chelsea just don't have the experience. Kvaratskhelia was incredible in this game. And in my opinion, I think he deserves to be starting for PSG, especially in their upcoming fixtures against Bayern Munich. I think Kvaratskhelia needs to start. Obviously, Barcola scored another insane volley right to the top bins, and PSG had made a comfortable win. Their goalkeeper is Safonov, who their goalkeeping position has been a very big problem for PSG this year, because obviously after Donnarumma left, they signed Chevalier, and he has now been benched for Safonov. So it's been very inconsistent, their goalkeeping position. But I think Safonov in this game was very, very good. He made some great saves. And I think in general, over two legs, PSG just showed why they won the Champions League last year and why they're one of the best teams in the world. And finally, the last game we saw on Tuesday was Manchester City against Real Madrid, where Real Madrid won 2-1 and they won 5-1 on aggregate. And this, once again, was pretty embarrassing for Man City. They lost away and they even lost at home. Now, I will say in this game, they were pretty good. They had a decent amount of shots. They probably could have scored more goals. And obviously, Haaland ended up getting his goal, which is good for Erling Haaland, because this year in 2026, he has struggled to get goals. But since that red card from Bernardo Silva, there was never really a way back. After that red card, there was never a way back. They were down a man. Obviously, Vinicius Jr. scored a penalty that he missed in the first leg, and Real Madrid always looked like they were going to win. But one player I have to talk about is Vinicius Jr. because in this game, he had so many chances. He had so many expected goals of 2 points. He had almost 3 expected goals, and that's including a penalty, which gives you almost 1 expected goal. He could have scored at least 3 goals in this game. At least 3 goals. But he's missing clear goals. Like, there can almost be no one in the net, and Vinicius Jr. will still miss. The fact that he didn't get at least 3 to 4 goals in this game is crazy. And I feel like that does tell you that, yes, obviously Vinicius Jr. is such a good player, but that final product is what he really lacks in. And I feel like if he was to work on that, he could be a top player. He's already a top player, but he could be even better. But his final product, just not good enough. And obviously Courtois, he did come off just after halftime. Obviously, he may have gotten a slight injury, but for the time he was on, he was absolutely incredible. And Man City are another English team that are eliminated from the Champions League round of 16. But if we look at today's games, there were some crazy games. We'll start off with Barcelona against Newcastle. This was crazy, honestly. 7-2, I don't think anyone in the world would have predicted a 7-2 win for Barcelona, especially after what happened in the first leg game, where it was very 50-50. Newcastle were arguably the better team and probably deserved to win that game. We saw Lewis Hall completely lock up Lamine Yamal. And in this game, once again, Lewis Hall was pretty good. Lamine Yamal's only goal did come from a penalty. But Newcastle as a whole, defensively, it just was not good enough. Thiaw and Byrne were not good enough in this game. Not good enough. Hall, like I said, he was okay. But even him, his performance in this game compared to the first leg game, it's night and day. It's night and day. And Obviously, in the first 30 or so minutes, this game was 2-2. Obviously, Lenga scored the 2 goals, and we saw a goal from Rafinha and Bernal. And it was looking like a really, really close game. We saw Barcelona do very good on the attack, but once again, they were getting exposed defensively for playing the high line. And when you have players like Elanga and Gordon and Barnes, these are players that are really, really fast players. They can expose you. They can expose you. We saw Eric Garcia get exposed. Kubarsi. Barcelona defensively, obviously, in most games they play, they're not the best. But we saw in that second half why, even though they're not the best defensively, they are still one of the best teams in the world, and that's due to their attack. Rafinha, fantastic in this game. Assists, goals, he did everything. Fermin Lopez, once again, very, very good performance. 2 goals from Lewandowski. Obviously, we saw the penalty from Lamine Yamal and an assist. So with Barcelona, it's like, even though they may not have the best defense, even though playing that high line, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of other people's opinions, doesn't always make sense. With how good they are on the attack, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because if Barcelona come up against Atletico Madrid in the next game, which they are, they could concede 3 goals. They might concede 4 goals. But once again, they can score 5. They can score 6. They can score 7. And that's why Barcelona, I think, will make it very far in this Champions League because of their attacking power and how good they are going forward. But looking at Bayern Munich versus Atalanta, Bayern Munich are another team that are really, really good going forward. And they're scary. They're scary. In the first leg, obviously they won 6-1. Second leg, 4-1. Atalanta completely destroyed. Pretty much the only 2 goals they got were pretty much consolation goals. Pasalic at the end of the first game and Samardzic at the end of this game. But they didn't mean anything because Bayern Munich in both legs were completely dominant. In this game, 70% possession, 3.6 SG, 25 total shots. And in the first game, it was even worse. They had like 30 shots. They had like over 75% possession. Atalanta got completely run out the park in the first leg and in the second leg. And in this leg, they didn't even have some key players. They didn't have players like Kimmich. They didn't have Olise. But that's the thing with Bayern Munich, because even though they have a very good starting 11 with players like Kimmich, Olise, Gnabry, when players like this don't play, as we saw in this game, they have amazing players off the bench. They have players like Lennart Karl, who's one of the best young talents in the world. They have experienced players like Goretzka. They have an amazing, amazing team. And in my opinion, Bayern Munich are probably the scariest team in this Champions League. I think they're more scary than Arsenal, more scary than Barcelona, than Real Madrid, because the team they have with the defense, the midfield, and the attack, I think they have the most balanced team in the Champions League. I think if you look at a team like Arsenal, they have a great defense and midfield, but their attack is inconsistent. If you look at Real Madrid, they have a great team, but as a team, sometimes they're also inconsistent. If you look at Barcelona, they have a great attack, a great midfield, but defensively, very vulnerable. But if you look at Bayern Munich, what's the weakness? They're a good team defensively. They're a great team in the midfield, and they have arguably the best attack in the world. They scored 10 goals against Atalanta, the team that beat Borussia Dortmund, the team that beat Chelsea in the league phase. They scored 10 goals across 2 legs against them. Insane from Bayern Munich. They're definitely going to make it to at least the semifinals, maybe the final, and maybe win the whole thing. But moving on to Liverpool against Galatasaray. In the predictions, I had hope for Galatasaray. I felt like we saw what happened against Juve in the second leg game when they were playing away. And they were shit. They were absolutely horrible. And I thought, there's no way they perform like that again. There's no way the home advantage is this important to a team like Galatasaray. But I was wrong. I was completely wrong, because in this game, they were shocking. They were so bad. And in the first half, they were poor, right? It took 25 minutes for Liverpool to finally score through Szoboszlai, and it was a very, very good goal. One-time finish right off the corner kick, just right into the bottom left corner. It was like such an incredible finish that was by Szoboszlai. I'm trying to find it on the map, but I don't think I can. Amazing finish. And Liverpool should have scored more. I think they probably could have beat Galatasaray 6-0 in this game. Galatasaray maybe had one chance to possibly score, and Liverpool had 32 total shots, 16 on target. And if it wasn't for Galatasaray's keeper, this guy, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Chakir, is insane. He is a crazy keeper. Incredible. He saved Mohamed Salah's penalty in this game. In the first leg, in the second leg, in all the other games in the league phase, he was incredible. One of the main reasons why Galatasaray made it this far, because the amount of world-class saves he's pulling off is insane. I haven't seen much of this guy, but I'm going to start watching him more because he's an insane goalkeeper. But with that being said, Liverpool were clearly the better team. Galatasaray did not come out with the right tactics in this game. Obviously, Osimhen, he may have got a little bit injured and he ended up getting subbed off at the start of the second half, and they just weren't up for it. In the attack, they weren't good enough. Defensively, they were horrible. And like I said, very similar to what we saw against Juve, where Juve started that game winning 3-0. Liverpool won 4-0. And in about a 10-minute span, from the 50th minute to the 60th minute, 15-minute span, from the 50th to the 65th minute, Liverpool probably could have scored 4 goals in that time. They scored 3, and actually one of them was ruled out. They probably could have scored 5 goals in about 10 minutes. That's how poor Galatasaray were in this game, and they don't deserve to make it to the quarterfinal. After they played in the first leg, fair enough. But in the second leg, it just wasn't good enough. I felt like from the start of the game, they're always trying to waste time. They're always trying to make Liverpool angry and trying to, knock them off a little bit, but it just wasn't working. And after Liverpool got the first goal, the floodgates completely opened and Galatasaray were completely open at the back. And that's why they suffered a 4-0 loss in today's game. But the last game we got to talk about is Tottenham against Atletico Madrid. And this game was done from the first leg. What can I say? After Kinski made those 2 or 3 mistakes, they were done. They were never coming back. But at the same time, I do feel like Tottenham in recent weeks, other than the first leg game against Atletico Madrid, they haven't looked too bad. Against Liverpool in the Premier League, they were pretty good. And I think they maybe deserved to win that game. And in this game against Atletico Madrid, once again, Tottenham were pretty good. They could have scored even more goals than they did. They had a lot of great attacking chances. Defensively, they were much better than they've been in recent weeks. And if Tottenham continue to play this way, I don't think there's any way they go down. I don't think they get relegated playing this style of football. If they revert to how they were playing a month or two ago, 100% going down. But in this game, they were pretty good. And if you look at a team like Atletico Madrid, I don't think they started their best lineup. Obviously, Koke was on the bench. Sorloth, who I'm a big fan of, was also on the bench. And I do feel like if they maybe played more to their strengths, and if the first leg didn't end 5-2 like it did, then Atletico Madrid would have definitely won this game. But Tottenham got a very good win, 3-2. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Atletico Madrid are still advancing. And what does this mean for the quarterfinals? This means that we have PSG against Liverpool, Real Madrid against Bayern Munich, Barcelona against Atletico Madrid, and Sporting against Arsenal. We see 3 La Liga teams in the quarterfinals. Absolutely incredible performances by all the teams that have advanced. And for the teams that haven't advanced, we saw some good performances as well. But you look at some teams like Galatasaray, some teams like Bodo Glimt, who a lot of people after the first leg game thought may advance. They just didn't show up in the second leg. But like I said from the start, the amount of goals we saw in the round of 16 was absolutely crazy. And I thought all of these games were very, very enjoyable to watch. But I'm super excited for the quarterfinals. Obviously, stay tuned for my quarterfinal predictions that I will be releasing in April closer to the games. But that's the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.